Thank you, Elaine, for providing a safe and fun space for my Rings of Power rants. This is all just nerdy discussions and debates fun as well. That's what fandoms are. Even though, yeah, we're kind of ranting about it, we're passionate. It's because we're passionate about these works, about Middle-earth, about Tolkien. And yeah, like, I wish we could get excited over this, obviously. I think we all wanted that. Every one of us wanted something exciting. We wanted to see what Tolkien wrote on the screen in this way. And yeah, so we're not talking about that. We're talking about what we don't like, but it's because we have passion for it. And it's still fun. We're still having a good time, which is more than what I can say when I'm actually watching the show. Again, it's so torturous, but chatting with all of you about it is very fun and entertaining. So there's that. They really think they can just change whatever they want and expect nobody would care and still like it just because of its name recognition. As long as the Lord of the Rings title is attached, they really do think that they can get away with anything. And it's actually amazing to me. This is a great fandom. It's awesome because the fandom's not having it. This is one of the most unique fandoms in existence. This is so long lived and it's filled with so many people, so many passionate people for the lore and what Tolkien wrote. They're just not into it. They're not accepting this. If you really put forth a sincere effort to adapt what Tolkien wrote, a completely different story. But unfortunately, that's not the case here. It is a vanity project for Jeff Bezos at Amazon, a vanity project more so for Payne and McKay, who are so undeserving of this job, it sickens me. Without a credit to their name, without a writing or showrunning credit to their name, got put in charge of the most expensive show ever for the most beloved IP ever. What's crazy to me is if you ignore the lore breaking, it's just a bad show. At least I could have an enjoyable experience, I guess, just watching it. But man, it's so painful. Lore aside, it is so painful to watch. It's so boring. And me just saying boring, it really doesn't convey to the full extent of how boring it is. It's torturously slow, and they cannot get me to care about any of the characters. So it makes me feel every single one of those minutes tick by. It prevents immersion at every moment. And it's so unfortunate. I feel like there's good things in here. There are moments where I can sense that could have had so much potential because it's Amazon and because of this, how this whole show is built on its concept, all that potential is wasted. Yeah, the lack of rights to the lore, and then when they got rid of Tom Shippey, killed my hope for it. But I so wanted to enjoy it. And then Mithril, for my love of Middle-earth, I had to stop then. Yeah, that's another thing too. They had to come up with origins for everything. Why do we need an origin for how the hobbits get to the Shire? So that was one thing, like they inserted a prophecy, which I'm sure that's what it was, of a promised land, so to speak, and they're alluding to the Shire. We're really having an origin for why they end up at the Shire? Really? Is that necessary? We had the origin for Mordor in a very silly fashion. Very convoluted. The whole purpose of the show is to try and make money. They thought they could just make a pretty Lord of the Rings show and people would fawn over it. The storytelling was a secondary consideration. Yeah, I don't even know because on a streaming platform, I don't know how they gauge how much money is being made. So I think there was one article I read, and I forget who he was at Amazon. He was some Amazon CEO. And obviously they can't make money in the traditional sense in regards to, I guess, subscriptions, but most people have Amazon for the shipping, for those benefits of Prime, not solely just for the streaming for the video. So how they gauge what revenue they are getting specifically for this show, I don't even know. But when they're spending so much money, I honestly don't see what's the financial benefit. And I think what the Amazon CEO was alluding to is if there's enough eyes on it, that will also lead to other things, other sources of revenue from those same potential viewers. So this show basically has to drive viewers to buy other things to Amazon. I would not put it past Bezos to keep this going to the end just out of pride. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either, despite the tanking viewership. I can't see the creators doing 5 seasons of this show with the terrible ratings that it has. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Amazon, it's a different story, like with Disney Plus, which out canceled The Acolyte, which was $180 million for 8 30-minute episodes and horrible viewership. And so they canceled it. With Amazon and even with Apple is paying out the wazoo for content. It's crazy. They're paying probably the most out of any streaming service for their content. I think Severance season 2 is like a financial report came out that is $20 million an episode that mostly takes place in an office, in an office environment. But Apple, obviously, and Amazon has other sources of revenue. They're like trillion-dollar companies. It's insane. So I don't know if it will operate under the same as other streaming services who don't have those outside revenue sources. So do it, whatever, 5 seasons and give us something more to laugh about. I don't care at this point. They themselves admitted that they couldn't imagine a Tolkien story without hobbits and wizards, so they're ignoring lore. Yes, exactly. I remember that. We don't view a Middle-earth story without hobbits or wizards. They don't trust the intelligence of the audience enough to be able to imagine a Middle-earth story without hobbits. Yeah. They just don't understand. This era should be different. It should be different. But they're just trying to recreate the Lord of the Rings before Lord of the Rings. That's literally what they're trying to do. As this show has continued, there's so many things that reference to those films and those stories, but they don't even recognize the gold mine that they have in the Second Age. It should be different. It should be starkly different from what we see later. It should have been such an amazing opportunity to explore this different age of Middle Earth with such substantive and such dramatic stories. And yeah, dark and grim. It should be like that. And I'm trying to compare it to other things, like at least George Lucas, when he did the prequel films, he set those apart in its tone and its atmosphere and era. So the prequel films have a very drastic feel to them. And it actually makes sense to me. Like when the events unfold, when the Empire rises, and then decades later, it has that different feel. The galaxy has this different feel, the technology, the ships look different. It makes sense. They are so uncreative, they are incapable of making anything else than some Peter Jackson ripoff. Yeah. Where are Celeborn, Celebrian, and Arian? Instead, we get Theo. I don't understand Amazon's priority. Where is Celeborn? Oh, so now there's this rumor going around that Adar is Celeborn. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. They bought the IP because they thought they would have a built-in audience. All they've done is piss that audience off. Yeah. I mean, they spent so much money already. I don't know why. What is the point if you can't adapt what he actually wrote?